The debate over racial reparations continues to intensify in Palm Springs. Tonight, John is going in depth on the issue in his ITeam Report, Section 14, Forced Removal.
It all surrounds this 1 square mile of land, Section 14, right next to downtown Palm Springs, that was cleared to make way for new development. Now, over the past couple of years, we've reported extensively on the images of burning and bulldozing, the removal of a statue of a former mayor, and an apology from the city council for its role and what happened, and now the demands for reparations, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars in reparations. Tonight, we're digging through the pages of the past, trying to get a better understanding of what happened.
Now, Palm Springs issued an apology to these families about 14 months ago. It acknowledged the atrocities. It acknowledged the racially motivated attacks that are laid out and documented in an Attorney General's report.
And it makes it look like an open and shut case because the report finds Palm Springs ignored that the residents of Section 14 were human beings. That's a pretty damning statement.
And I don't think there's any factual basis of that in his report or anything else that has been reported of that era, period.
Two sides of the story, one from the attorney representing minority families whose homes were burned and bulldozed. The other, a former city manager of Palm Springs, who says it's much more complicated.
I think it's that the city has been made the fall guy, you might say, for a very complex, inevitable situation.
The statue of Norm King's friend, former Mayor Frank Bogert, was removed from City Hall in July of 2022.
Apologies are long overdue.
After the City Council formally apologized in 2021 for the city's role in the clearing of Section 14.
I am in this because I feel that Frank's reputation has been slandered.
This was a perfect storm created by over decades. I've been combing through the records, visiting the Palm Springs Historical Society, getting a closer look at Section 14. And finding there are multiple sides to this story. There are the residents and their descendants, the city of Palm Springs, the federal government's Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the Agua Caliente tribe and its members.
The Section 14 became a very bad slum.
Former tribal chairwoman Viola Ortner on C-SPAN back in 2013 talking about her book, You Can't Eat Dirt. In the 1950s, she went to Washington, D.C. with the rest of her all-women council and convinced lawmakers to give them the right to do long-term leasing, a move that would greatly increase the value of the land. Ortner talked about working cooperatively with the city.
We didn't always agree with the city or do what the city wanted us to do, but we had this relationship to where we could talk about it and discuss it.
And showing how the city and tribe work together, this letter from Agua Caliente Tribal Chair Edmund Siva to the Palm Springs City Council, dated April of 1966, reads in part, "The Tribal Council for the Agua Caliente Band of Mission Indians want you to know that they commend you for your recent cleanup campaign, and they ask that you consider this letter as a note of their appreciation." You can still find the scars of Section 14 and what happened here on some of these properties. This particular lot has never been developed in over 50 years. It was cleared in 1965. Historical photos show the condition of some of the homes that were here in relationship to what was at that time a new apartment complex next door. This photo is from the Palm Springs Life Archives. Recently discovered documents show the city has letters from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, along with permits to burn debris on those properties.
The Bureau represented to the city that the notice was given.
Marvin Roos is a former planning director in Palm Springs who says he's reviewed the city council minutes over the entire period. Who bears what level of responsibility? Bureau of Indian Affairs or the city?
Yeah.
That's a gray area?
Sure. Well, I did a take on it. I assigned 15% to, this is just, what do you think about it? 15% to the city, 25% to the tribe, and then the rest to the Bureau, but the Bureau would cover the tribe.
I just wanted to try to touch base with you again. We're working on a story about Section 14. Our calls and emails to the tribe requesting comment have not been returned. We have obtained this letter sent from former tribal chairman Jeff Gruby to the chair of the Human Rights Commission in 2021. In the letter, focused on the removal of the statue of Frank Bogert, Gruby takes issue with non-Indians on both sides and writes this matter is of no concern to the tribe. He also promises that the tribe will tell its story about Section 14 in an exhibit at the new Cultural Museum in downtown Palm Springs.
Are you upset by the tribe's silence right now?
I'm not upset. I understand. I mean, why should they? I don't believe they did anything wrong.
Our efforts are directed at the perpetrators of the atrocity, and that's the city of Palm Springs.
The attorney for the Section 14 families also declining to be interviewed for this story. Same with all 5 city council members, citing the threat of litigation, though they have spoken out in the past. Councilmember Christy Holstead was at the news conference announcing the claim against the city.
Those actions were wrong then. They are wrong now.
Council members did speak out at their April 27th meeting when they voted 3-2 to hold off on a consultant agreement for a reparations program, with Councilmember Lisa Middleton saying she needs to learn more.
And I would remind everyone that nothing happened here until there was an act of Congress that gave back to the Agua Caliente people control of their land.
These families are not going away. They have found their voice, and if anything, their voice is just going to get louder and louder and louder.
We did get this statement from the city attorney. While the council decided not to proceed with the consultant contract that was presented to council, the council unanimously reiterated its desire to continue its pursuit of a reparations program. You can find links to all of the city's documents and much more, including those complete letters from the tribal chairman, online at kesq.com.